Hello, well, Verity and I are here at the BBC's Maida studios with a whole host of musicians to celebrate Late Junction's 10th birthday. It was just over 10 years ago when Roger Wright came along and said, Fiona, if I was thinking of having a programme where I could mix, I don't know, Bulgarian chant with the saxophone playing of Jan Gabarek, would you be interested? And I remember saying to Roger, well, you know I'm interested, that's why you've asked me. And we've never looked back, really. We just put music together, wanted to play it. Listeners were so excited that they were hearing music they'd never heard before, so it seemed like a good idea to carry on.
Yeah. It's very hard to say really how this programme started or indeed whose idea it was. I mean, obviously Roger Wright, who's now our controller, was in on it at the beginning because it was when he joined Radio 3 as well, and his whole idea was to broaden things out and introduce all sorts of different music to Radio 3. And I came on board because I was a producer at that time as well. I was a presenter and I was doing a little programme called The Music Machine, which was an educational programme, and again another very eclectic little mix of music, only 15 minutes long, so then I was given 2 hours. It was like all my Christmases had come at once.
I think Late Junction grows out of Radio 3. Radio 3 is about music making wherever that comes from, and it's got a long history of jazz and world music and experimental music, and Late Junction sort of brings all of that together and then adds a little bit more on top.
One of the absolute beauties of Late Junction, and probably its unique quality really, is the way that we've got elements of all kinds of different music in the programme. I think the perception of it sometimes is that it's a world music programme, which it most certainly isn't. We have world music, we have folk music, we have electronic music, classical music, and all these things, jazz as well of course, they all blend together, and the whole point is to get those things to balance and to give you a kind of oral experience. It's a little bit like when you go around to a friend's house and you play them something and then they say, oh, that really reminds me of this, and they pull something off the shelf which is actually completely unrelated, but there's something in there, some oral kind of trigger that just makes you think of something else.
Maybe these last two are 5. Maybe it's 2 minutes. I don't. It's quite hard to tell.
So it might be 5 and 5.
Yeah.
If snowflakes and bees are. So at max, that's about 22 minutes.
Yeah, definitely.
So our main celebration of the 10th anniversary is the studio event here in Maida Vale. Now this is something we don't do very often. In fact, I'm not sure we've ever done something quite like this for Late Junction, where we have a number of different bands and artists in the studio, and the presenters are there to host it. We have an audience, and a little bit like the Jules Holland show on TV, we move from artist to artist. It's a lovely way to show the diversity of music that we play on Late Junction, actually in a completely live environment, to show that this is radio happening in the studio, and I would love us to do a bit more of that in the future.
I'm Hugh Warren, and I'm a pianist, composer, and I think my music is pretty eclectic. I come from a jazz background, but it certainly doesn't fit very easily into the jazz box, and I think that's why I'm involved with Late Junction, because it seems to have this eclectic attitude towards music, which certainly fits in with my kind of vibe. I'd like to think that my music covers a lot of different areas, and that's exactly what this program seems to be doing, so I guess that's why I'm here. I know some of my recordings have been played on the program. I can't remember quite how far back, but I certainly remember that idea that when you turn Late Junction on, you might not like the music you were hearing, but the next bit of music would be so different that you'd probably like that, or if not, then one after that. So that's certainly how I remember hearing the program initially.
It's a late night show. Sometimes it has a late night character, but then again you can listen to it online anytime you like. It's a show of surprises. If you hear one tune that you like, you never know what's going to follow it.
my name's Philip Henry. I've been listening to Late Junction for about 7 years. It's always been an aspiration of mine to be on the show. A few years ago, myself and Tobias made an album called The School of Trobar, Love Songs and Trance Hymns, and we sent it to Verity Sharp, hoping to have it played. And she liked it and played a few songs off it. And she's since played songs off my solo album, and now we're here doing this. And it's quite an amazing experience, really. The instruments I play are dobro and chaturangi. Chaturangi is Indian slide guitar.
My name is Tobias Ben Jacob. I'm from Lancashire originally. I'm a songwriter, guitar player and singer. I play in a band with Phil and a few others called the Roots Union. I've listened to the show for 6 or 7 years and got many influences from it. And as Phil said, it's a great pleasure of ours to be here, and we're really excited about the show tonight.
My name's Helen Martin and I play violin in the Roots Union. I met these guys about a year ago and we started playing together, and now we're here. It's very exciting.
I was studying a music degree and at the time, and our teacher put us onto it. And
I was listening to it for years before we went to university.
We are right. A lot of what we were studying at university tied in with a lot of what they were playing on the show.
Over the years, we've certainly discovered a lot of new music, either artists who are on very small labels or indeed who haven't even signed to a label, because they'll send us their recordings. The more we've gained a reputation for an interest in adventurous music making, the more people have just sent stuff into us. So certainly some artists have been launched via onto the airwaves via Late Junction. And of course we also do studio sessions where unsigned artists can come in and do their own thing. We have recently in the last year pushed that boat a little further out by inviting artists to collaborate with other artists who they've never worked with before in the studio. They have one day in the studio, that's the challenge, come up with 15 minutes of music, and we've done 6 or 7 of them so far, and so far they've all been very good. And very surprising, the kind of music that people have come up with.
That's why I hate having birthday parties to move.
Yeah.
It's like a recurring nightmare that nobody comes. You've got no friends.
Yeah. Roger's coming.
Oh, they are.
Felix is coming. Roger's bringing a friend. Roger Short.
I just saw Roger Short, yeah. And Lopa.
Lopa's coming?
Yeah, she's outside with a friend.
An unusual thing of having musicians in the studio, you need to tell the radio listener what they're in for in this case. So I think they need to hear from you before we start music, but it can be very brief.
I think you should start. It's your week. It's your programmes, really.
Yeah, that's true.
And just to say, I'm here with you, and I'll say, hi. And then
well,
you can say
well, you could split the menu in half. You could say we've got X and Y, and you've got we've got A and B.
With live music to celebrate our 10th birthday.
Yep.
And then you could say what they are.
or not, actually, because